Hi, I'm Seamless, and today I'm going to talk about something that I have mentioned before as part of other videos, but I want to make it its own thing, just so whenever anybody asks me a question that this would be the answer to, I can just give this video instead of writing an essay about it every time. The two things I want to cover are just how I actually make a living, because I do make a living, and also sort of what my mission is, because I do have a mission. So my living is pretty straightforward. People ask, they see me make the videos, they see me, do lessons, whatever, and they wonder, and they say, well, what's my job? What do I do for a living? And the answer is I do this for a living. So what all this is a lot more than just videos. The videos are the platform that makes all of this possible. It's why it's the main thing that I'm going to try and cultivate, even though at the moment it's not my biggest earner. I make about, with my current view load of something like 500, and the last month I made in July, I made over 500,000 views, and that netted me for that month, which I'm not gonna get paid for until November because I get paid quarterly for that, $800, and so that's the YouTube stuff. Lessons are like a whole other thing entirely. Like, it's a little bit hard to quantify in terms of regularness, because you can quantify in terms of like how many lessons I have scheduled per month, and then that's so many dollars an hour, and that's how much I make, that month. The thing is, though, is that I'm scheduled very far in advance, and people pay me to schedule a time. I get paid up front for that. I'm scheduled to October right now, so that's like in the month. I mean, and that's been scheduled over time, and it's hard to again quantify, but to put it in perspective. My current rate is $75 an hour. I schedule 4 lessons a week. Is that right? That's right. Currently, that's my regular scheduling. It's 2 lessons on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's how many I do, which is an extremely small amount in comparison to what I did in July, which was when I had a sale. I did a lesson sale for $40 an hour, and I scheduled 82 lessons for the month of July, which was 4 a day during weekdays, and then there were some reschedules. I had 92 slots. I scheduled almost all of them, and then I had a lot of reschedules. And some of those reschedules are actually currently involving themselves in the regular time slots, which is a bit of a no-no, because that means that I'm full-time, fully paid, real non-sale priced slots that are being filled by sale-priced students. But that's okay. I'm not like that much of a stickler for my organization, and I'm not gonna fight people about it. But so that month with so let's just do, calculator, 82 times 40, $3,280. So that's how much money I made on the lessons for that month, for fucking July. However, I also started scheduling lessons in July 3 months prior. So that was spread out over a course of the month, but as far as the yearly total, that's, part of that. And so like make as considerably more than the amount of money that I make on just YouTube stuff. And so like if based on right now, the projection wise, if I were trying to be like a smart capitalist, I'd be focusing mostly on lessons. However, in the future, if my growth is consistent and I don't fuck up colossally, my YouTube channel will be enough on its own to surpass that quite a lot. And that's kind of the goal that I want to have, is to make that a thing. I do also sell music. I also sell sample packs, and now I'm getting back into selling projects, which used to be a thing I started to do way back in the day. I have like t-shirts and stuff, but like I haven't really pushed out as hard as I could have been. I haven't been pushing a lot of this stuff as hard as I could have been, because my attention has been somewhat divided, and I'm attempting to fix that by having a little more of a concrete actual schedule and plans and working hours and that kind of thing. And it's becoming a little bit better. And this has to do with the working hard, smarter, not harder idea, and also the stuff I talked about in the doing more video, where if I am able to, not have to work as hard to accomplish the same amount of things, this means I can do more things. So that's where all that comes into play. So all that adds up, and it's hard to say for this year's projection, but last year I made around $30,000, which is the first year that I made pretty much anything. The year before that I made like $5,000 total. And the year before that, I didn't make anything because I was tiny and nothing happened. But so that last year was that, and this year, again, if I don't screw up, I'm on track to make nearly double that. And that's also because like I have a couple like supplementary stuff that's actually like much higher paying. Like I guess I really can't talk about some of them. Like the amount that I got paid for, say, the Killeristic remix last year was singularly a lot more than I get paid for a lot of the stuff that I've done. And other things, like other companies they commission tutorial series from me. Like Sonic Academy or Base Gorilla, those guys come at me with and I do some stuff for them and they pay me for it. So like that supplements, what I do as well. Which actually like is particularly those two things and why I'm good at it and why I like it a lot are because play into sort of what it means for me to have a mission. So I do kind of have a mission, like a mission statement and goals and that kind of thing. And it's a little bit weird because I didn't used to. I didn't really know what I was doing, and it was mostly in the day. It was all about surviving, which sounds a lot more hardcore than it is because I do kind of live in my mom's house. But what I mean is that like I wanted to generate one way or another a sustainable career, and what that meant at the time I didn't know. And what is the time? The time was a couple of years ago when I was first introduced to Fixed by BT. I was given an intro to their label manager James. And I had a phone call with him and a conversation, and he asked me what it was that I wanted to do with my life, like with my career. What did I want to do? And I was like, I don't know. I full on don't know. And I didn't actually say I don't know. He was just like, it's okay if you don't know. I'm like, okay, good, because I don't know that. I don't know. And because he basically wanted to formulate, like, Fixed whole thing is that they want artists to be sustainable, and they generate a plan for their sustainability and working out to their strengths and that kind of thing. Stuff like the sample packs and that sort of stuff was sort of his idea. And I did do that beforehand as well, but I stopped once I started doing it when I was on the label. And so I've come up over time with a bunch of more specific things that I can do that Fixed can support to support what I do, and that's why Fixed is cool. But I still, at the time, didn't have a clear idea of what I wanted to do. At the time, it was really just about whatever I could do to sort of have a sustainable career. And then it's actually kind of a weird parallel where like you're just new starting out in music, and then like it's not even really about what kind of music you want to make. You're just making anything that you can make to have made something. But then as you get better, you start to have more options. You start to have to like actually narrow down what you want to do and what you can do and that kind of thing. Now, what I want to do, I have never wanted to be like a world famous musician, that kind of thing. I never wanted to be the touring DJ, the gigging kind of thing, the $1 million. I mean, I wouldn't mind, obviously, because it's awesome, but that was never like my dream. I don't even know what my dream was. I think my dream, honestly, was that I just had a sustainable career doing stuff with music, and like I've got that. That's fine. I'm doing that right now, but it's evolved to being something a bit more specific than that. And the specifics of that are that my goal is essentially to be a music educator. That's kind of what I want to do now. I want to teach people. I want people to learn how to make the music that they want to make. For people who do want to be the world touring, famous $1 million musicians and DJs and that kind of thing. Those guys who are limited by their knowledge, I want them to not be limited by their knowledge. And I want to see the things that they can do with their passion when they're freed from the engineering constraints. And that's kind of the entire purpose of my channel. And every single thing I do is that. And it's important that you have that in your mind because it colors a lot of the decisions that I make, even with like the kind of music that I make and why I make it, that kind of thing. Every once in a while I'll make music just because I feel like it. Like my next EP is going to be full of a whole bunch of random stuff. It's just kind of whatever I want to do. But when I do like tracks from scratch or something like that, it's partially for entertainment value, but it's also it's mostly for education. Like I'm not like, if I'm going to make the kind of music I want to make, I'm probably not going to like have to show anybody that, but I'm doing what I'm doing as a process to show people how to do what I do so that they can do it themselves or do it differently, or to extrapolate that and to do their own thing with their own version of it. And people have done that, and it's actually really cool. Like I've had various students who have taken my own techniques and turned it into something that I didn't recognize. And when I asked them what they did and how they did that, they're like, "Oh, that's just the FM stuff you taught me." I'm like, didn't know that. Wow, good job. And that's always been my view on like secrets of sound design, that kind of thing. Like, I mean, I'm always gonna have a bug up my butt about Noisia whenever anyone asks them how to do what they do, and they're always they just don't answer the questions about it. And it's not because they can't; it's because they don't want to. And their opinions are noble enough where they say that like they want people to learn it themselves, to come up with it because they feel that's the best way to do it. And I guess that's how they did it. And they're not wrong in terms of that being a thing that works, because that's also how I did it. But it also, like, I spent so many years that I didn't have to spend doing that could have been solved if someone just told me very basic ideas about some of the sound design. Not even like giving me the whole answer, just like enough to get me going, and I wouldn't have had to waste these so thousands of years in the darkness and that kind of thing. And I talk about this a lot, and this is one of the reasons why I make tutorials, is because I don't want people to have that. The sooner they know how to do the stuff that they want how to do, the sooner they can take that and do something new with it. The sooner the next Skrillex can happen, because Skrillex understood whatever part of the sound design he did to make, Scary Mustache sprites, or the next Noisia for that matter. I mean, there's already a lot of next Noisias for that matter, but I guess Cohen sound, that kind of thing. The next, whatever is next, that stuff. There's a quote, I forget who said it, the whole shoulders of giants thing. We are where we are because we stand on the shoulders of giants. It would be foolish to try and learn the entire history of music and sound design alone without any kind of whatever. You've heard this before, and you're familiar with my opinions on this. And that's what I want to do. I want to be the enabler. I want to be the guy that lets people do the incredible things with the music that they want to do. But I don't actually necessarily myself need to be the guy that does the incredible stuff. And there's a phrase that people have that say that those that can do and those that can't teach. And there's a little bit of truth to that. Whether or not it's actually a thing about an ability limitation, I like to think that I can figure out how to do whatever kind of music there is. I mean, I didn't necessarily own the hardstyle genre, but that's the first time I've ever made a concerted effort to do that, and it got pretty fucking close. So, if for some reason my career imploded, I could have a future of being a ghost producer or something like that. That whole idea. Or maybe I could just be an artist. That's fine, but I don't want that life. The life is not attractive to me. I'm not really a big fan of the scene. I don't like the shows. I don't like it's just not. I hate DJing too. I'm working on ways to make it more interesting so that I can actually, perform some of the things I do live, because I do like performing live. I'm in a metal band. I prefer the metal band aesthetic in terms of performance, but it's a whole different thing, whatever. And it's also very auxiliary. It's not a main goal of mine. The main goal of mine is to create a platform, a free platform, by which people can come and learn what they need to learn and then go do their own thing, and then not have to be limited, not have to pay money to do that, because that's how much of a crappy proposition is that, where it's just sort of trust me, we know what we're talking about, but in order to actually find out if we do know what we're talking about, you have to pay us money. You might be thinking, well, that's what your lessons are. I'm like, well, here's the thing. Everything I would ever say in a lesson is available in the video somewhere. And I understand that at the moment my video architecture and the fact that there's 800 of them on my channel is incredibly inefficient and difficult to actually find out what you want to learn. But if you didn't have any money and you had all the free time in the world, you could do that. You could learn everything that I would actually teach you on your own, and that's fine. So the what you're paying for isn't the content. You're paying the convenience of me, appropriately serving it to you in a way that's efficient. Which turns out is an in-demand thing, which I think says bad things about my architecture of the channel. But that, I never understood the pay model of online schools. I also make content for some of them, so I guess I need to readjust some of my opinions on that. But it's a bit odd. Anyway, what this means for the future is that a lot of the stuff that I do and make is educationally oriented. The idea is that whatever content that I make, whatever content that I've ever designed, it exists more as an educational tool than it does at its face of whatever it is. And this was even the case with my earliest stuff. Some of my, more famous works like Bass Antics, or Sometime, they're in the FL, they're actually in FL. And one of the reasons why they're in there is because I want them to be used as an educational tool. And I was also that was also back then when I didn't actually think that I could compete as a musician, and so I did the next best thing, because I thought I couldn't do it, I thought I could teach. So that works out. It ended up being the smart choice, market analytically, because the musician DJ market is stupidly saturated, and I guess I'm part of the problem there, because I'm letting people do what they want to do faster. So that's nice. Anyway, so to kind of wrap it up, I do make a living doing what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is being a music educator. That's the title that I have. I'm also an audio engineer and a producer, and I make music or whatever, but a music educator, audio production educator. I don't even know what professor. I don't work for college, but you know what I mean. That's sort of about the point. And as long as I can do that, I will do that. And what in the video called Doing More, I talked about things that I want to do, and among some of them are like maybe have an actual music school, like an actual physical location with teachers and students, and like some of those like just little rooms for producing and like individual studios and that kind of thing. And like that'd be totally sweet. And that might be me. That might be me in the future. And also other stuff like, you know, organizing other educators and putting them in a spotlight enough where other people can find them and learn what they have to teach. Because I don't know everything. I don't use every DAW. I don't use every plugin, and so like I'm going to have the weakness of being just one person. But you know, I can always get others on board to help out, and that's something that I want to do. And like that's all as and a lot of that's going to be like really expensive and not very sort of capitalistically sound. And what I mean by that is I could probably make an awful lot more money doing less scrupulous things, but I don't need to make a lot of money. I just need to make enough money to just be myself. And right now that's actually a very small amount. Like I made a lot of money, you know, the 30,000 and 40, and like I'm going to make almost double that. That's you know, positive. It's beyond the poverty level. And if I had to, I could live on my own, but my actual requirements for existing right now are very minimal because I live in my mom's house. This is my mom's house, you know? And so that means that I can do more, and I can sort of sacrifice being a billionaire and to bring on other things, because like whatever, that'll be the future. However well that works out. I don't know if I missed anything. Oh yeah, one of the other things that I've done, you know, for odd jobs is stuff like I went to this place called Creative Live in Seattle and like live streamed a master class. I actually did a master class. How dope is that? And then later I'm going to go to a convention. The Creative Live people are going to bring me back, and I'm going to talk at a panel. Like, how educating is that? And what I like about being a music educator is that like not a lot of people do this, and it's because for the most part, most people prioritize being an artist over being an educator, and that's fine. You know, that's what they want to do. And a lot of these places like Creative Live, like Sock Academy, Basic Gorilla, when they get people to make videos, they usually get artists and people that they know or like to make videos. And very few times do they find people who are actually like specialized in teaching as opposed to making the music. Because like I'm pretty good at making the music, but I'm way better at teaching the stuff than I am than most people. And that's because that's what I do. That's what I spend all my time doing. I spend all my time teaching the stuff and making videos about it. And versus someone who spends all their time making music, which means that they might actually be better at it. I mean, they probably are better at it than I am. There's a lot of people who are way better at this than I am, music wise. But like, because they spend all their time doing the music and not ever talking to anyone else about it, except maybe their peers or whatever, they don't have to talk to anyone who doesn't know what they're talking about. They're not used to breaking it down into basic ways and teaching. Like, cause you imagine trying to teach, you know, math to a kindergartner. You know math. You're good at it. You know, you might not, you know, be, might not be like a calculus master, but you know enough about it to know how multiplication works. But how do you explain that to a child? Right? And there's tools and ways to do that, but like you're just so good at doing it, you know how to do it, but you don't know how to like tell someone they can do it. And that's something that I'm good at versus someone who's all, you know, just an artist all the time, and they're less, you know, sufficient at that. But like it's a particular advantage that I have that I've been able to leverage in my career so far, and that's pretty good. Yeah. So if you have any questions about that kind of thing. So before you ask these questions, I have a playlist now. It's called Advice, and it has a lot of these vloggy videos in them. And I bring this up because there's a whole bunch of videos in there. Like one of the questions you might be having is like, wow, how can I get in a position to do what you do? How can I become a music educator? How can I make money doing music stuff? I have a video called how to make money in the music industry, which covers some of this. It might seem like it's about, you know, being an artist, but the underlying concept is that you really just want to do whatever you can with the skills that you have, which could be teaching people. Plenty of musicians, when they start out, give lessons. A lot of the band members I've in Krakatoa over the years have been like guitar teachers and that kind of thing on the side. So that's why can't you do that for production? Be a local producer, teacher, you know, do that. And there's a bunch of other videos that cover some of the questions you might have, and that's honestly that's why I make some of these videos, because if I notice a trend of a particular kind of question cropping up a lot, I usually make a video about it. And recently, every time I make one of these videos, I start off by saying I covered this in another video, and that's because it was buried under some other point or idea. Like what I talked about in this video, I talked about like how I got started with Fixed. I was introduced to James by BT, and he made a conversation about what I wanted to do. I laid out the Fixed business plan and why they rock as a label, and I guarantee you, someone else later is going to be like, "How did you get you started with Fixed? How did that happen?" Like, well. Okay, I guess I'll talk about that now. And although I did mention that in the video called Labels, you know, that whole thing. And I'm not saying that everyone should be watching all my videos all the time, but I'm just saying the information's there. But if you have any questions about anything, let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And as usual, have a nice day.